Anthony Giuliano is our guest this week on Social Pros. Anthony, I find that fascinating that you're teaching similar subjects to very different audiences with very different historical relationships to social media. Traditional college students literally grew up with this stuff, and then old dogs like yourself and myself and Adam, it's a much different sort of generational approach to social. How do you change and vary your teaching style when you're kind of coming at the same topic to these manifestly different audiences?
Well, one of the things that I've learned that's a huge help to me is to ask questions. Ask questions even before the class. You know, when I'm doing the social media professional certificate class or a LinkedIn class, I send out a questionnaire and basically ask people, what do you want to know? Why are you here? Why are you taking the class? And I do that even in my 4-credit classes. I learned a number of years ago, because I do a lot of public speaking as well, that your slides are a guess at what the audience wants to hear. So why guess? Just ask them. If you have access to the roster, reach out. How can I help? What are you looking to know? And you can learn that in Q&A, but you're already almost done. So why not learn it beforehand? So it's asking questions. It's understanding, you know, the class that I'm teaching, the marketing class I'm teaching to traditional college students. These are non-marketing majors. So I'm bringing in things about the consumer experience to keep them interested, to keep them off their phones during class, quite honestly. So it's meeting them where they are. And I have so much passion and interest in the topic that I can hit it from a number of different angles. But what's always most important is what's the audience's interest? What do they need?
Anthony, one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about in this episode, Adam alluded to it, is your work with LinkedIn. You've mentioned you do a fair bit of LinkedIn advising and consulting. You wrote an interesting article on LinkedIn not too long ago that you believe that LinkedIn is much better for sales velocity than for prospecting and for pipeline development. And I think everybody out there who is a Social Pros listener, and we love each and every one of you, has experienced the kind of blind groping in the dark amongst sort of sales professionals who use LinkedIn sort of in lieu of cold emails now. And that probably doesn't have a tremendous amount of success to it. And it's also kind of irksome. So talk a little bit about your philosophy of LinkedIn for business and for B2B.
Yeah, it's about using LinkedIn as one tool, not the entire toolbox, and knowing that there's a lot of things you have to be doing in order for LinkedIn to work. I always compare LinkedIn to a gym membership, right? If you have a gym membership and you're eating Twinkies and hot dogs and pizza, which I love, by the way, if you're eating all those things and you're working out at the gym, you're not going to get the same results as if you're doing the things you should be doing in the real world outside of the gym. Well, the same's true on LinkedIn. What I see LinkedIn doing best is taking a list of leads that you already have and nurturing those, you know, not being the like fairy and going about LinkedIn and liking everyone's post, but strategically saying, who should I be engaged with? Who should I be continuing a conversation with? What can I learn about my prospects based on what they're sharing on social? It doesn't sound like rocket science, but it's so much the exception and not the rule of what I see. So many people, they want it to be a magic bullet that they're going to log on to LinkedIn and all of a sudden generate a prospect list. And my experience with my clients is it just doesn't work that way.
Anthony, one of the things you told us right before the show was the fact that you get excited when your clients get results from LinkedIn because it can be so frustrating for them. And I want to kind of carve in and talk a little bit about that word frustrating. What do you think is frustrating for your customers and your clients with LinkedIn? And how are you kind of converting them and helping them to see the light and the efficacy of LinkedIn? Is there a magic wand? Is it one or two things, or is it a little bit more complicated than that?
Well, I'll first confess I'm a LinkedIn nerd. I've loved LinkedIn for a long time, and I just kind of get it, and it's always been very intuitive to me. But what I understand is it's not as intuitive to other people. And, you know, I loved what Amber Naslund said on your show a few episodes ago when she talked about consistency being the key. That's it. But it's really strange to me that people who get Facebook, right, they understand Facebook. And then I talk to them about the importance of content on LinkedIn. And they look at me like I have 6 heads. Like, well, what would I ever say on LinkedIn? And I'm like, you just posted a picture of your salad on Instagram, but you don't know what to say on LinkedIn. And you have such a rich professional life. There's so much you could be talking about. So it's really in a friendly way, in a diplomatic way, making that case. saying that you don't have to hit a home run every time you communicate something. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering information. You just need to put yourself in the news feed and be consistent so that you're top of mind. And to me, that's really easy and really simple, but to a lot of people, it's still brand new because they don't work in the marketing environment every day. So when they get it and then seeing the results they get is one of my favorite things that happens professionally, is when people say, oh, now I know how to use LinkedIn, and now I know why I'd rather spend time on LinkedIn than time with other digital tools. So it all works together, and every tool has its role, but LinkedIn is, I think, where there's still the most untapped potential for the largest number of professionals. I think it's where there's still the most upside, and helping people realize that is something I try to do every day.
Anthony, what do you advise clients on LinkedIn in terms of participation in this ongoing, showing up to the gym and eating your salad on a day-to-day basis, to continue this tortured metaphor? What do you advise in terms of sort of short form, quote unquote, LinkedIn newsfeed content creation versus longer form use of LinkedIn articles, which is really more of a blogging platform?
Yep.
Where do you fall out on that differentiation?
Yeah, I try to keep it really simple for people to make it actionable. I say one status update, one post, one short form post a day, one article a month. Start there. I think you can get way too noisy in the news feed on LinkedIn. So once a day, I find, is a good sweet spot. You're consistent enough. And again, all of this depends on the size of your network. But going back to what I was saying about it being habit change, I tell people to put it on your calendar for the first few weeks. Just like if you're trying to start to go to the gym, you got to put it on your calendar for the first few weeks until it becomes muscle memory. So if I tell people once a day with a post, a few engagements, a like, a share, and a comment, and a long form article every month, that's memorable and it's actionable, and it seems to work pretty well. So I always steal a page from George Thorogood. I tell people when it comes to engagement, it's not one bourbon, one shot, and one beer. It's one like, one comment, and one share every day. So it's the George Thorogood school of LinkedIn, but something that's memorable and actionable, I think, helps people at least get started.
My question for you is, what would you tell someone trying to get a new job in the social media space? Either they're fresh out of college, like one of the students that you are instructing, or somebody trying to kind of move to the next rung. What would you tell them in terms of what they should be publishing and curating on LinkedIn? Would it be very different than what you tell a brand leader?
Well, I think the place where I would suggest a difference is in how they build their network. For someone who's mature in their career, I think you can be more selective in who you choose to connect with and who you choose to engage with. For someone who's just getting started, it's a bigger tent. It's really being open to the possibilities and connecting with others. I mean, people tend to forget you can always disconnect with someone on LinkedIn if they're abusing the connection. So I tend to tell younger people, really, be open to new connections and learning from people. That's the biggest difference I see, is in how you build the network. The cadence might be a little bit different, but I tell college students, for example, you are some of the best prospects for sharing great content on LinkedIn because you're learning so much every day. One of the best ways to establish yourself as a peer to the people who are always working in that profession is to share what you've learned, to share your expertise. And you can post on LinkedIn a few times a week by just sharing the highlights from the classes you're taking. And all of a sudden, people, instead of thinking of you as a student, they're going to think of you as a marketer or an HR professional, whatever that is, because you're sharing the same types of content that your incumbent workforce peers are sharing.